what's up, productivity junkies? Darin here. I'm joined by Gaylord DeWalt. He is this masterful, brilliant person when it comes to analytics and search engine optimization stuff. So why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
I'm Gaylord DeWalt. I'm the president and janitor of Thought Faucet. It's just me. And so I do a lot of work with SEO and web analytics and web strategy. And web analytics sort of ties into the the roots of the kind of work that I do, looking at behavior on websites, what are people doing, and ideally trying to get more people doing the thing that you want them to do on your website. That's a big piece of what I do.
So Gaylord, if I'm a new agent, or I'm not new, but I'm just trying to get started with my web presence and blogs, what's the first thing that I should be worrying about? I mean, I'm trying to come up with all the content I need to put up anyways. How do I make sure that I'm putting up content that matters?
Right, so first thing, if you're an agent and you've put together a blog and you've got it up and running, that's awesome. First, take a moment, congratulate yourself, because you're ahead of 90%
exactly,
of people.
yeah.
That's important to recognize that that's awesome. So then there's next steps. Okay, so you got it up and running, what do you do next? If you're on a WordPress system, there's a plugin to help you install Google Analytics. Google Analytics is the software that I recommend to most people for web analytics. If you're not on WordPress, there's other ways of installing Google Analytics as well. It's fairly simple. It involves copying a little piece of code and putting it in the bottom of your website. If you're afraid of messing with the code, you can usually find someone to do that for you very inexpensively. It takes literally 10 minutes.
Okay.
Once you've done that, you'll have to have a Google account to do that. Then, starting that day and from then onward, the Google Analytics will track what people do when they get to your website. So it'll track where did they come from, what site were they on immediately before they got to your website, what did they do while they were on your website, and what was the last thing that they saw.
And why knowing that stuff is that important?
So
why should I care?
Right. So there's a few things that are really helpful. So primarily, the first thing I would say is with your analytics to always look at what is an actionable report, because Google Analytics has thousands of reports you can look at, and it can be really it can be the cause of a lot of anxiety. So pick 2 or 3, and I really say for real, pick 3 that you're going to look at.
No more than 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
To get started, just start with 3. And I'll give you 3. I'll give you a handful of good ones that should be one of those. So there's a report called your traffic source report.
Traffic source.
And you'll see that it'll be on the left. You'll find it, and that tells you what kind of site people were coming. Were they coming from an organic Google search? Were they coming from a link on some other website like Facebook or LinkedIn or just someone else's blog?
Okay.
Did they come from a paid advertising kind of situation? Or did they just type in your web address directly? So that helps you know, okay, am I reliant on search? A lot of times I'll look at a website and be 98% of people got there from search. And that means if Google changes its algorithm or something, your traffic goes away. So understanding that traffic source report and taking action based on it. Trying to even it out, I need to get more inbound links. Your referrals are going to say that. Then there is, on the other, so that sort of tells you when people arrive at your site, how many people have you acquired to your website. On the other side, you want to know how many people are actually converting, and online converting them into leads, which is usually just filling out the lead form or agreeing to be contacted in some way.
Conversion is important.
So you can configure your Google Analytics so that when they type out the form and send it, usually you get a thank you page. Thank you for sending me an email. I'll get right back to you. And hopefully you're getting right back to them. When that thank you page shows up, that can be configured as a goal in Google Analytics.
Okay.
So once you've done that, you can look at all of the other reports in Google Analytics in terms of people who filled out that form.
Okay.
So you could say, okay, people who come from Facebook, do they tend to fill out more forms than people who come from your local advertising, online advertising?
Which, by the way, for me, and I'm in a different type of business, but what I noticed is I get more traffic, clicks on Twitter, but I have a higher conversion rate from my Facebook stuff.
Right, right, and that's going to be different for everybody, and that's why it's so important to configure that goal, because some people are going to convert from their Twitter feed, some people are going to convert from their Facebook, some of them are going to convert from something else entirely. And just because, like for me, LinkedIn for some reason works really well. For you, Facebook works really well. And people will always say, oh, well, this is what you should be doing, and this is, once you set up your Google Analytics with that goal conversion, you're going to find out what's working.
Sure.
Because you'll be able to look at it and say, well, most of my traffic that converts comes from Twitter or from wherever.
Just experimenting.
Yeah, it's a big piece of working with the analytics is trusting yourself enough to experiment and to look at the data and take some action on it.
Okay.
So conversion will help you, in conjunction with that source, will help you determine where should I spend more of my effort. Like Facebook is working, I should spend more time on Facebook.
And this is just like old school stuff that if you have a bunch of business that comes from your for sale by owner side of business versus expireds, then spend more time calling for sale by owners.
Absolutely. It's totally, this is all nothing new since like the 1950s when Procter & Gamble invented this stuff. Like this is what it is. It's just that now we have access to these tools and it's free and it's fairly painless to configure and get going.
So if someone wants to find out more about this stuff and what you do, how do they find that online? How they get in touch with you?
A great way to get in touch with me is Twitter. My handle is Gaylord, G-A-H-L-O-R-D. I also work, my company is thoughtfaucet.com. And I write a column that comes out usually every Tuesday on Inman News. Any one of those is a great way to get a hold of me. And if you're just interested in analytics in general, there's tons of great blog posts about how to use Google Analytics. I think I've written a lot of good ones, but I'm not the only one out there, and it's worth exploring that.
I'm definitely going to be checking out his site because I learned a ton of stuff from his talk today. So go check out his site, thoughtfaucet.com. We'll talk to you guys soon.